Hey, Talk Universe. Hey, Facebook Live. We are live with Julie Reisler.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited, and I certainly love to talk and listen, so I'm excited.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in Julie's fan club, or if you are in her friend zone, or if you're family, or if you just love her work, go ahead and wiggle your finger over the share button. Help her spread her message. Julie's given a couple of different TEDx talks, so I'm really excited to have her on the talk today. We're going to get started with the podcast here in a moment. If you have a comment or a question, I will acknowledge and respond to those. And it's a really great opportunity to get some free Q&A with Julie, which I don't think that Julie is, as much as we're new friends right now, I don't think that I can do that, sign up for a half hour on Julie's schedule and ask her a bunch of questions for free. But you can right here if you comment, whether this is recorded or live. Go ahead and interact with Julie. She'll be looking at the page. Anything else you want to say, Julie, before we go live here on the podcast?
No, I'm ready. Bring it.
All right. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right. We are live in 3, 2. We are live with Julie Reisler. Julie, are you ready to talk?
Oh my gosh. When am I not ready to talk? Yes.
Author and life designer Julie Reisler is a multi-time TEDx speaker. She's the host of the Youest You podcast and the author of Get a PhD in You, as well as the business edition, soon to be released, of Get a PhD in You. And she is also an international coach. Julie Reisler, welcome to the talk.
Thank you so much. I'm honored. I'm thrilled to be here. I can't wait to dive in.
So you have a couple of talks here. You've got Words That Get in the Way, and you also have Get a PhD in You. The one that I reviewed was Get a PhD in You. Obviously, that's turned into a book. That's turned into a movement. Take us behind the talk, Julie.
Yeah, the basics is this. I believe that we go to school, and we spend a lot of our life studying subjects that are important. I'm not going to say they're not. However, what I've learned through my own university of me is that the subject that is missing, that I believe is the most important subject to understand and to study and learn about, is ourselves, is you, is me. Because when you have awareness, when you are clear on your stories, on your limited beliefs and thoughts, on your strengths, on your goals and your dreams, on your capacity to be empathic or not, those are the key elements, in my humble belief, that make for a really incredible, I call it delicious, savory, and flourishing life. And I mean both, in your work, in life, with friends, with people, and in general, feeling that you're able to make a difference and be present. And so I found that subject of ourselves, studying ourselves, is crucial, and it's missing. I don't see it in schools. I don't see it in the university level. Personal development certainly is becoming much more popular. I wanted to create a place and a way for people, and now in the business industry, entrepreneurs, people that are in their career, to really uncover their passion, their purpose, their strengths, and to look at what the heck is keeping you stuck and how do you move through it. That is always my question: is how do we become our highest potential?
Well, and there's so many ways that this is relevant, so many ways that we can go in different directions with this. But I want to kind of contextualize this. I saw a friend of mine shared a article the other day, and it basically said the projection that in 11 years, in 2030, 11 years from the taping of this interview, half of the workforce is going to be some sort of a self-employed contractor. And the implication is that many of those people, not by choice, that it has to do with the stock market, it has to do with the cost per or profitability per employee ratio. And here's my point with all of that. It's hard enough as a self-employed person or any person with a personal brand to really understand ourselves, to really do the deep work, the hard work of understanding how we function best. What's it going to be like for all of those people that are involuntarily They don't really have the entrepreneurial bone in their body, but they are contracting. They're going to have to, whether they like it or not, start studying themselves, because there's this whole part where we can just put our heads down and work, kind of do factory work or some kind of work where we're being told what to do. And then there's this totally other type of work where we have to employ metacognitive stuff to think about what we're thinking about, sharpen the saw, figure out why we got stuck, notice that we are stuck, all of these things. And here's what I've realized, Talk Universe. It's hard work. All right. You might be thinking, someone like Julie writes a book about getting a PhD in you. And it's like, oh, some of you might be thinking, oh, how narcissistic, how self-centered, whatever. It's not. This is a survival mechanism. If you don't want to be stuck all the time, if you don't want to be dependent on somebody else to have to emotionally carry you, you've got to take responsibility for caring for yourself, loving yourself enough to figure out how you operate. Julie, I figure there's a story behind this. I saw a little bit of a story on your talk, but please take us behind the moment when you realized you needed to get a PhD in you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the point, by the way, that you bring up about it being narcissistic or selfish is it's actually quite the opposite. I'll just, everyone knows you're on an airplane, they tell you to take the oxygen mask. I have 2 kids. I still get in this, like, what would I really do? Well, what do you really need to do? You've got to put on yourself first. So my point is, it's not about stopping with you, but it starts with you. And from there, you can make an impact. And so for me, I'll tell you the quick overview of my background, and I'm sure others listening have experienced this before. As a female that struggled with how to express my emotions, I turned to food. I'm a recovering food addict, sugar addict. I used food to handle emotions. I was living a life that was mediocre, not great. I believe we're really meant to be here to thrive, that we all have these purposes and things inside of us that want to be expressed. And I was not doing that. However, on the outside, it looked like it. So it looked great. I happened to smile a lot. So it looked like I was happy, but inside was not. And in fact, there was a day, I'll never forget this. I ate so many M&Ms. There's a longer story to this, that I actually got sick for 3 days. I'll spare you the gastrointestinal issues. However, that day I decided, I got in my car, and I remember I looked at a support group that I was going to go visit, and I thought, I either go to the support group or I'm going to drive my car off the road. And I remember clearly, I mean, it got to that type of place where I was so desperate. I felt so horrendous in myself. I had felt lack of self-worth. I did not felt stuck. I had all these stories that I was believing that weren't true. And it was that moment, this is about 15 plus years ago. I remember I got to that group, and for the first time, I just thought, oh my God, I'm with other people that get it. And that started just this self-excavation process. And I started to learn as I worked with coaches, as I worked, I did personal development programs, and started to look at what the heck was going on. What was I saying to myself? And it was like this awakening, realizing, oh my God, we get one life, one shot to be here, one time. And it is my job, actually, and they talk about this in the support group world, it should be your full-time job to learn about yourself and learn how to manage your energy and how to stay in a place of being able to feel good so I can give more. And so I saw a 180. I mean, all of my life is transformed in every way. I ended up leaving a marriage, great person, not the right fit. I have 2 children. I left my corporate 9-to-5 cushy job, start my own business. I had so much stress around that. I have an autoimmune condition, but I look at it as a blessing because I now eat a certain way. So I look at it this way. I wanted to write something that would have helped me, 15, 20 years earlier. And the business edition is, people bring their whole selves to work. It's not like you go to work or you're in your career and all of a sudden, okay, here I am. Like I'm fully self-expressed and I've gotten through my stories and I'm unstuck. No, people bring it. And then they end up sharing, and they're contagious, and they share this mediocrity. And the truth is, my belief is it starts from within. There's no one to point fingers to. You got to point to yourself. And I'm a big believer, none of us are victims. We all can take responsibility. And that's a lot of what I teach. And how do you do that without being crappy to yourself? Because that doesn't help either.
Well, for sure. And Talk Universe, I hope that you have a resonance with what Julie is talking about, because so many of us wrestle at some level with these kinds of ideas, suggestions, thoughts, whatever. And it's so important to take it. It really is a responsibility thing. It's not an ego thing. Life gets complex. And if even if it's just technology, there are all these things that come and can just lock up your brain, lock up your heart, lock up different relationships that you have, and it's all about taking responsibility so that we can make the impact on the world. So, where'd the phrase come from? Get a PhD in you. Is that something that you realized that you needed to absolutely not just master data creation. I remember this from your talk. You're doing all these data sets, you're collecting all this stuff, and then you're like, man, looking at the mirror or whatever it was, man, if I studied myself as much as I studied all this other stuff, I'd be able to do some amazing things. That's what I remember. But give me the real scoop on it, Julie.
Yeah, good memory. Well, it's funny. It came out of a place of, it was about, 13 years in of, I always joke 30 grand of therapy and a support group where you go 3 days a week and a sponsor and a mentor and a crazy coaching program. And you too are going to know yourself. That's why I wrote what I did. I was like, I'm going to boil this down for people so you do not have to do that. And I remember saying to a friend, I went to just a personal development, a really intense program, and I came out of it and I was like, you know what? I actually feel for one of the first times like free, and really my eyes are open. I feel energetic and I feel so purposeful. Like I want to help others to feel this way. I literally felt like shackles had been taken off of me. And I said, you know what? I feel like I just went through a master's program. I said, no. I did not go through a master's program. I just went through a PhD program. I feel like I friggin' got a PhD in myself. That's what I just did the last 13 years. It was not 2, it was not 3, it was not 5 years. I wrote a dissertation. I had journals. I probably have 15 journals. So I was joking. I said, I feel like I got a PhD in me. And we were joking. And then later on, when I started my own business, I heard this voice that said, you need to write that book. People need to understand how to do that. And it just came very organically, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's come from my own experience. And I think, like you had said, these things that I talk about, this is what has helped me to change, literally change from a life that was okay and fine and mediocre to, fantastic. And I guess what really, really keeps me up at night or moves me is I think of that last day, hopefully I'm at 100 or 96 or something way, way, way down the road. And I never want to look back and say, oh crap, I missed it. I missed me. I missed the essence of who I am and what I'm here for. So I look at the Get a PhD and all those principles and learning about yourself is being it's the carrier to take you far in your life so that you can then be free and live a life that you just are crazy about. And if more of us did that, I feel like we would have a very different planet, because it means there's inner peace and inner joy. So
well, we've been enjoying this conversation with Julie Reisler. Her talk is called Get a PhD in You, and we're going to be right back with Julie in just a moment. And we're back with Julie Reisler. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm about to ask Julie a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Julie, are you ready?
I'm always ready. Bring it on.
All right. First question, were you invited to speak or did you apply? And I know there were multiple talks that you've given, so feel free to aggregate or answer any way you like.
I applied to 3 and I got 2 of the 3.
Nice. I love that Talk Universe. She applied to 3, not 1. What's your advice to other people like us that actually apply?
I would say this, be passionate, be clear, understand your message. There's a lot out there and there's room for everyone. We need more of you who have stories to tell, to inspire, to share. So I would say, have as much of that ready to go. If you have, materials, website, great, but get your messaging clear. Know what you want to, at least have a sense about what you want to share about, and do not let, if fear is starting to get in the way, please contact me. It's what I do, is we get rid of fear. Well, we don't get rid of it. We put it to the side and we take action. Just remember, you're being of service. So I look at it as you're being of service when you're sharing a new thought that can inspire. And go for it. Do not let yourself get complacent. Try it. Go for it. What's the worst that happens? They say no, no biggie.
So you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves? Were you in the zone? Neither or both?
It's interesting because I did two similarly within a 2-month period, and both were very different experiences. One was a big, huge theater. It was dark. I couldn't see anybody. I just saw lights, and I went into my own world, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna have fun with this because I can't see anybody, and I'm gonna assume that hopefully they're listening and enjoying it. And I had a lot of fun with the first one. The second one also had a good time with it. I could see everybody and I could see their faces and reaction. And so for me, it's playing with and the, being with the energy that was there. And so the second one was really fun in a different way because I got to interact and it was a lot more off the cuff. I am not a big memorizer. I like to speak like this, like just from my heart off the cuff. I did memorize, or I did have a sense of both of the talks, but with the second one in Austin, with Get a PhD in You, I was able to really just get into some banter. It was fun. I probably spoke too long, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Julie, what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
What's a tip, tool, or technique? It's a good question. I think to keep it as simple, keep it to one main theme versus I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to share. And I'll be honest, critiquing my own talks, I think the second one I gave was too long and had a little too much. I repeated what I said. You don't have to go to 18 minutes. My first talk was I think 9 or 10. I would say stay within the 8 to 10 minute range. And then if you go over, great. But keep it simple, be specific, and make sure you're solving a problem. You're solving something that people can connect with, and be vulnerable. Share a part of you. I think it's really important when you get up there to share as much as you're comfortable. I happen to share a lot. If you listen, I mean, I didn't hold back. I mean, the first thing I talked about was being on the toilet.
Yeah, well, that you get the award for that for sure. And it really is about being transparent. I love the idea of a shorter talk, and I know for a fact, just having done extensive tracking, that the shorter talks get more views for obvious reasons. I mean, 20 years ago, when these talks started getting more popular, an 18-minute talk seemed so short. And I think, 10, 15, 20 years later, doesn't seem all that short anymore. So if you can get it in the single digits, I absolutely agree with what Julie is saying. Now, Julie, my last question: what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened right before or during your talk?
Ooh, goodness. I'm trying to. Well, I would. What comes to mind? All right, this is funny. So you know how there are the red dots that you stand on. I spoke. The second talk I did was in Austin, and the theme is "Keep It Weird" because Austin's tagline is "Keep It Weird." They had 3 dots on the stage, and I have a dance background. It was just, to me, I was like, I felt like I was dancing between the dots. I mean, I hope it looks okay, but I got up there. Oh my God, there's not 1, there's 3. And I know that there's a whole, like, stand here. So I think playing while I'm speaking off the cuff, being present, and then like dancing with the dots, to me, that was just unexpected. But the thing was, you just go with it. The other issue is the earpieces. You could hear the women's earrings. So I just ripped mine off. No earrings, all good. And that was a wise decision.
Well, we've been enjoying the Blitz Round with Julie Reisler. Her talk is called Get a PhD in You. You can find out more about her, and we'll have a link to that talk on the show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We will also have a link to her website, juliereisler.com. Reisler is spelled Reisler, juliereisler.com. And we'll be back in just a moment with Julie Reisler for the final word of advice. And we're back with Julie Reisler. It is time for the final word of advice. What is it, Julie?
My word of advice is always listen to your inner voice, your intuition. It has never steered me wrong. I believe we all have a guidance system. And I invite everybody listening to take a breath and do whatever it takes every day to get a little quieter amidst the noise in our society and listen. You are equipped with every single thing you need to be wildly successful, abundant, happy, and joyful. And so go within and listen to that voice. That will never steer you wrong.
Well, thank you so much, Julie Reisler, for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope impactful.
Absolutely. Well, that's a wrap. We got a little comment from my friend Jill. I don't know if you know Jill Polton or not. She says it starts with you, but it doesn't stop with you, for sure.
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you pulled that out. I think I said that, and I was like, oh, yes, that's what I mean.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, good deal. Hey, if you have any questions for Julie, just go ahead and type them out in the comments, and we will see you on the next interview. We have some this evening, so I'll join you for that. And anything that you want to say, Julie, before we go?
Well, I'll just end. Thank you, Jill, for pointing out what I said. I do really believe it's not only not selfish, it's imperative to honor, take care of, get to know, study yourself with compassion. And from there, you can make such more of an impact and difference in the world. So it starts with you, but it certainly doesn't stop with you. So I invite us all to be that contagious force of positivity and helping others to master their inner and outer world.
All right. Hey, take care, everybody. We're going to go offline. Watch I'm going to do another, if I have time, and I may make time for this, I'll do another 100 talks in 100 days. Facebook Live a little bit later today for those of you that want to get accepted. It's so important, to build, it's not about building your resume. It's about building your professional media kit. If you have any kind of personal brand, these are so important. Julie's been on the stage a couple of times. It is so important as just a presentation literacy piece to do that. And so, I invite you to check that out as well. Any final words before we go, Julie?
I just say thank you. It's been so fun. Thank you for letting me be the talk with you.
All right. I'm going to circle back offline with Julie, but thank you all for joining us today.